1, 2, 3. Look, I ain't gonna even look at him.
Just real people, real convo.
I'm Peter Bailey, and after my sit-down with Fantasia, I headed west to Miami's M3 Studios to share a nightcap with Wyclef Jean at the video shoot of his new single, Midlife Crisis, starring the Gossip Game's K Fox. The legendary Fugees frontman discussed his legacy, philanthropy, and brokering common ground amongst hip-hop's newest stars with his latest musical offering, April Showers. Clef, thank you for letting me invade your video shoot.
Anytime, fam.
How's this midlife crisis come about for you? Artistically, I mean.
It all started, the joint really started when I was putting up my twit pic on my birthday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It started with my sister. She said, "You having a midlife crisis," you know? Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's going to be a good joint for my mixtape. You know what I mean? So, just went, basically, the way I came about doing the track, I went to Abu Dhabi, hooked up with some producers out there. Shout out to Bliss. And what we did with Prince Q was my idea with the whole new project was to put the sonics of what's going on around the world and combine that with my sonics. That's the whole new sound. So I call it like the Refugee Republic. So it's almost like if I show up with my guitar and I show up with my keyboard, Sadek shows up with his drum machine, and we in Abu Dhabi, what is that going to sound like? You know what I mean? So that joint is just, you know, lyrically, shout out to Dave Chappelle, you know, he was at my studio too. And he said that he was going through a midlife crisis. And lyrically, the joint is just an honest joint of saying, you know, the joint I started, I said, no bruise on my back, I'm back from hell's fire, you know. Thug angels say the devil's a liar. Ain't a thing we can't conquer, Olympians. I'm on my second win, running like a Jamaican, you know what I mean? Just when people think it's over, that's when it's just getting started for you, you know what I mean?
So, from just a human standpoint, is there a sense of fear, apprehension? Because music, I mean, artistically, you are a legend in this culture. Do you see you coming into the culture and trying to adapt to it, or keeping the Wyclef brand?
Well, I mean, the first part of it, you have to understand the relevancy of me, of myself, to a kid. Say, for example, I'm just getting back really in 7 years. Like I'm coming from Sweden. And you could look online, it's a bunch of kids. They range from 18 years old all the way up to 40. Right? I come back, I jump on stage with Waka Flocka. You know, that's the Waka. I mean, go online, see what happened. I jump on stage with French Montana. Go online, see what happens, you know what I mean? So really, you have to understand the art of what we do is just, we born like that. I came from a hut, bro. By the time I got to America, it was the land of the free, you know what I'm saying? If I'ma fear anything, it ain't gonna be the music. That's the easy part, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you was to ask me, yo, when you ran for president, did you have fear? Now, you know, that's another conversation. But the idea of having to adapt the music, in a sense, as a producer, you always have to think like a child. So my daughter is 7 years old, right? So she got to tell me what's hot, right? So as a producer, I don't close my mind, you know? So it's like, if my little nephews are bouncing the Sosa, I want to hear it, you know what I'm saying?
I heard the Creole.
Yeah, so it's like, and then when I get with Fresh and then we flip like Sosa and Creole, even like when Chief Keef here, he gonna be like, yo, what they saying? But it's almost like the appreciation for hip hop is more where it comes for me from. So as hip hop, you love the art. I think a lot of times when legends try to come back, they don't embrace what the youth is doing. And I don't say, when I mean embrace, it's more like they quicker to say that's not hip hop, opposed to what they said to us. When we was doing what we was doing, they said that wasn't hip hop. You know what I'm saying to you? So so we don't we don't adjust to the times. You see what I'm saying? The times is going to adjust to us because there's nothing new under the sun. You feel me? We just blend in.
Your philanthropy, I mean, over the course of several years, that's what people are really familiar with, the work you've done in Haiti and whatnot. Now you stepping back into music, is a philanthropy something is still, is there a shift in interest at all? Or is it
in
perfect union?
the joint Midlife Crisis, you know, I said top 3 MC, music mogul, philanthropy. It's like, you have to understand, my philanthropy is not, I was doing philanthropy in my dad's church. Like, I just happened to make it and y'all following what I'm doing, right? So think about it. Like when the Fugees came out, you could go back and Google it, man. You see us performing at the Tibetan Freedom Concert. That was like philanthropy. Like, you know what I'm saying? When Russell Simmons invited me to a march in New York where at the time Mayor Bloomberg was cutting the school budget and I got arrested in that march, that was philanthropy. You know, when I decided that I'm gonna go to Haiti, and at the time it was like 2005. So can you imagine the gang violence going on out there? And I decided I'm gonna go talk to the gangs. There ain't no cameras out there. I mean, now you could look at it online, the Ghost of Cité Soleil, when even my own Haitians went up against me and they was calling me a gang leader. You see what I'm saying to you? At the end of the day, that's philanthropy. So at the end of the day, when you put yourself to the service of people, you know what I'm saying? That has to be part of your everyday life. So when I look at people like Harry Belafonte, at the end of the day, if all I stood for was the music, there would be no conversation. It's because at the end of the day, in 1,000 years, everything we talk about right now is irrelevant. The only thing people gonna remember from you is, were you able to move the race forward? If you could move the race forward in any form, and not on the level of, oh, cause dude's a star, he can. I'm talking about, I know local people that's in local communities, they do philanthropy. They should actually be getting more credit than the stars that we see on TV. So once again, the music is always inside of my philanthropy, blunted on reality.
So to play devil's advocate a little bit, Clef, we talk about moving the race forward. Me and some buddies had a conversation in a barbershop, and it was this discussion of,
I like the barbershop.
You get that real soulful connect. So we were discussing, Peter, when you listen to music, do you want to hear something or you want to feel something? So there's this whole topic of music, especially in hip hop, where people are saying the substance is lacking a little bit. So you're kind of one of the architects of this hip hop thing. Do you feel we're moving us forward, or what are we doing? Well, culturally.
Well, first thing I gotta tell everybody in the barbershop, right? Which barbershop is this? You know, we're gonna send it out to all the barbershops, right? So, first thing I gotta tell the barbershop, if we was just having a communication about this, I would say the level of people that are saying, do we lack substance? How old are they?
About 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
That was the range.
Yeah. So 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say something to y'all. Okay. On your way out.
Wow.
Straight up, we on our way out. Wow. And what that mean is, we on our way out. Like at the end of the day, when we talk about 30s, early 40s, I mean, the relevancy of what we saying, if it ain't pertaining to a 16 or 17-year-old or a kid in college, right, that had that pulse, when we had that pulse, when we was that age, then that's where the conversation starts. So once it starts there, then we say, why are the kids the way they are? And why do you feel that they hip-hop is different than our hip-hop? And why do you feel that they music lack substance? I'll give you a real simple answer. When we were coming out, there was not no 2 towers that fell down.
That's true.
When we were coming out, we didn't turn on the news, and every 2 seconds they scaring you by telling you this is a terrorist alert, right? When we was coming out, we could go through the airport with all our clothes on. Like they didn't put us through machines and had to go through us like robots. When we were coming out, not saying that there wasn't bad news, but we felt like we was untouchable because in the country we was in, we felt like no one could get to us. Now, fast forward in this generation. This generation gets so much negativity, so much bad news. Every other day there's a killing. Every other day, you know, everyone has to be part of a set. That the only escape that they got is that music. And that's why it comes out, and that's why they blabber and they say, yo, and you know, there's a phrase they say, yo, dumb it down, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they want that simplicity, because when they go back to that reality of that school, or they go back to that reality of that news, or they go back to that reality of that neighborhood or that block, ain't nothing funny about that. Ain't nothing smiley about that. Ain't no champagne popping about that. So I look at this generation as the generation that uses music to escape from everything else. Yeah. And this, you know, I made this, you know, this observation just in talking to kids. Because at the end of the day, when they come to me, they're like, yo, Clef, you know, we understand where you coming from because you don't neglect us. Opposed to saying, so if I go in the studio with Waka Flocka, and I go in the studio with Waka, and I'm in with the squad, and you like, man, Clef's in with Waka, then you hear a record, and I'm going through the entire record. Flags, flags, squad, flags, flags. Then you said, damn, Clef done lost his mind. But now if I bring Waka in the studio, Waka is expecting me to take him out of the box. And when I hear Waka, I know I could take him out the box because he got that voice like Metallica or like a preacher. So when we go in, ask them. First thing I tell them kids, I say, tell your story, because I know you got a story.
It's interesting you bring a Waka, because I asked him that question, and he was like, Peter, if you raise a child in the jungle and kill and hunt, he's gonna kill and hunt. So he was like, people who judge me for my actions before, they're thinking it's flawed.
Yeah. And that's the youth speaking.
Indeed.
Yeah, man.
Indeed. At our best, man, what is the music to us? What is hip hop to us at its best?
Well, hip hop itself is the culture. Yeah. That's what we live and we breathe, we sleep. It's almost like, you know how dudes have Scientology? Yeah. If we was really to be real, hip hop's our religion, if we was to say that. And what that mean by that is, there's hip hop songs that you hear that sounds like psalms to you, and only those that read it can understand it. You know, it's like when you listen to a Public Enemy record, you can listen to a song. I got a letter from the government the other day, and when you listening to that, someone looking at you and they're thinking like, what is this that you're reading? But you read that chapter of that book. So at the end of the day, I think that hip hop is our lifestyle. You know, and I think sometimes we confuse hip hop with rap, and then we be like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Yo, this hip hop thing. Nah, man, hip hop's the culture. From the clothes, from the flashiness, from the intelligence, like all of this information I'm giving you. I didn't learn the information from school. School only gives you partial institution information. I've learned it from listening to hip hop music.
And hip hop, it's just become that cultural ambassador. You know, us being Caribbean, from St. Thomas, Haitian.
St. Thomas, I think.
We talked about Tosh. You know, how do you see reggae and music from the diaspora kind of merging with the American hip hop?
I mean, you know, you talk about Peter Tosh. Just get this right here. You know what I'm saying? Right, that's what I live by right here. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is my weapon of choice. You know what I mean? And so I'm a big, if you see me with a gun guitar, you already know I'm a Peter Tosh head.
Indeed.
You know what I mean?
I had to know that. I had to know that.
Yeah, so I think for me, you know, the elevation of music is going to come from us that are a little bit older to be able to combine with some of the youth and merge it together and get some of that consciousness back into what they're saying.
I always have a belief that you take a brother from a boardroom in the streets, you get together on one accord, there's not much we can really not do. You're moving into books. How's that coming? Well, you have the scholarly, the fever for books. I think you're working on a couple more.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think what happens is, you know, they're the scholars that, you know, they're educated, they go to school, you know what I mean? Like my brother's one of them, he's a lawyer. And then there are those that are just born like that, right? So I always think a lot of times some of the best books I read just come from, like, you know, individuals that didn't necessarily thought they'd ever write a book, because what they always gonna be is true and honest, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think for me, you know, I definitely think, you know, my legacy when I'm no longer here is gonna be like the 5 or 6 or 7 books that I put out. So I always think like it's important, you know what I mean? I have one music book called, like, you know, Music Theory. And it's the Cliff Notes, but it's my way on how I see music theory, you know what I mean? Wow. I got a political book I'm writing. I don't know when that's gonna come out. I don't want to get killed early.
No, what's come on, Cliff? You gotta give me some juice about that.
Nah, it's called They Try to J. Edgar Hoover Me, you know what I'm saying? So that book gonna be dope, you know what I'm saying? It's like my view on the political race, like when I ran for president. It's so important for kids to read that one, because, you know, I want kids to know they have the ability to do whatever they want to do, you know what I mean?
Indeed. Clef, finally, if the world ended right now, bro, and we were no more, when I think the name Clef, what am I supposed to think and feel?
The only thing that I can say, booyah, if the world was to explode, I just believe in fusion. And fusion means the idea of just putting people together. So it's like at the end of the day, all I want to be remembered for is the guy that, whether if you was from the DR, St. Thomas, Jamaica, Haiti, somehow I found a way to put all of us together in one policy. And I feel like that's just through the music that could be done, you know what I mean?
You were the conduit.
Catching a vibe, you know what I'm saying? And we got the April Showers mixtape.
Yeah.
This is big, man. Let's talk about the locals I have. When you hear the tape and people that you don't know, and you just like, yo, this kid is hot. That's more what I'm interested in. Okay. When I did the score, half of the people in the score on the album, The Fugees' The Score, you didn't know who they were.
No, we didn't know.
And half of the people, y'all still don't know. Y'all didn't know that was Akon at the time on the score. You know, John Forte, I got a kid Omega, The Outsiders. This tape is gonna be basically, at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of new talent, and I feel through the tape we can hear a lot of the new talent. And also with the big name talents, like when you hear Waka on the tape, you hear T.I., you hear Traded Truth. I'm happy because when they came to see me and they expression on the tape, you have never heard Waka like this before. No. You have never heard T.I. like this before. Traded Truth, you know. Shout out to 2 Chainz, joined me for the album. We did some stuff. Shout out to Estelle. So right now, April Showers is the mixtape. So April Showers bring Mayflowers, and of course the album is called A Refugee Republic, coming out in September. All my fans that love that Shakira stuff, we got Hips Don't Lie Part 2, but I ain't getting into that right now. Right now it's about Clef spitting. So we getting back to the foundation, you know what I mean? Big up to the gods, you know what I mean? 5%ers, you know what I mean? Destroy to rebuild, right? So that's where we at.
Indeed. Clef, it's always real.
Bless, brethren. Bless.
That's a bad.
See, look at this, the precision. Yo, man. See that?
Just real people, real convo.